Burkhart, who is 60, was sentenced in 2018 to 9 years in prison for his part in what prosecutors described as a massive fraud, kickback and money laundering conspiracy. The one-time leader of the Indianapolis-based long-term care company and others were found guilty of illegally funneling more than $19 million to themselves to purchase luxury goods over a 6-year period. Burkhart also had been ordered to forfeit seized assets, pay restitution and serve 3 years of supervised release after his prison sentence was finished. His downfall was instigated by a vendor who refused to be shaken down and then tipped off the FBI. That triggered a vast investigation spanning numerous federal agencies that included spectacular raids of Burkhart's office, safe deposit boxes and home that set the long-term care sector abuzz and uncovered 350 gold coins and gold bars and more than $1 million in cash. Burkhart was board chairman of the Indiana Health Care Association at the time of the FBI raids. The former CEO pleaded guilty to 3 federal felony offenses, including conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to violate the healthcare anti-kickback statute and money laundering. In exchange, the government dropped 17 counts of an original 32-count indictment against him and others. Burkhart previously had sought to have his convictions tossed on the grounds that members of his legal team had not disclosed that their firm also represented one of the companies affected by the scheme, Health Hospital Corporation of Marion County, which paid ASK to manage dozens of facilities that it owned. A federal appeals court, however, ruled in 2022 that the conflict had not affected his case. According to a White House fact sheet, individuals whose sentences were commuted had been placed on home confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic and have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities. The individuals, according to the government, have shown successful rehabilitation and a strong commitment to making their communities safer. Specific reasons for commutations for Burkhart and the others were not provided. Former American Senior Communities CEO James Burkhart, who 7 years ago pleaded guilty to fraud, kickback and money laundering related changes in a case that the federal government valued at $19.4 million, was one of the almost 1,500 individuals whose sentences were commuted by President Joe Biden last week. Biden commuted the sentences of 1,499 people and pardoned 39 in actions the White House said resulted in the highest number of people to receive clemency in a single day. A commutation reduces or eliminates a person's sentence, whereas a pardon forgives the person for an offense or offenses and removes civil disabilities, such as restrictions on the right to vote, hold state or local office, or sit on a jury that may have been imposed because of a conviction, according to the Department of Justice. Burkhart was not pardoned. Burkhart at one time was serving his sentence at a minimum security prison in Montgomery, Al, and was scheduled for release in 2026. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, he currently is assigned to a residential reentry management field office in Milan, MI, which manages offenders confined to their homes as well as others. His release date is listed as December 22. The former CEO had been indicted in October 2016 following a September 2015 raid of his Carmel Inn home and other locations. Days later, ASK fired him and the chief operating officer, who was Burkhart's brother. ASK's chief financial officer resigned. Also sentenced in connection with the case were ASK's coup, an associate of Burkhart's, and a former landscaping company executive. ASK offers skilled nursing and rehabilitation, memory care, assisted living and independent living services. Burkhart's case stands as one of the most notable in the healthcare sector's history, showcasing the risks of fraudulent activity in an industry responsible for the well-being of millions of vulnerable individuals. The long-term care industry, with its vast funding sources and complex regulatory environment, has been a target for financial exploitation in recent years. The scale of Burkhart's operations, where the use of shell companies, kickbacks, and off-the-books transactions was used to disguise his illicit activities, was particularly shocking, considering his high-profile role in the industry. His involvement in the case was extensive. Burkhart and his associates manipulated the healthcare system to channel large sums of public money intended for elderly and disabled care into their own pockets. These funds, which were meant to improve the lives of vulnerable patients, were instead diverted into extravagant personal expenditures. Prosecutors painted a picture of greed and deceit, with Burkhart allegedly using the stolen money to buy luxury cars, vacations, and high-end real estate. The 2015 FBI raid revealed just how deeply Burkhart had embedded himself in a world of corruption. During the search of his homes and business premises, law enforcement uncovered evidence of his lavish lifestyle, with gold coins, bars, and stacks of cash, indicating a personal fortune built on his criminal enterprise. His ties to various key figures in the healthcare sector further complicated the case, with industry insiders and former business partners implicated in the fraud. While Burkhart's conviction was a blow to his career and his reputation, it also shed light on the need for stricter oversight and regulation in the long-term care industry. The case also served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of large-scale public healthcare programs to fraud and abuse. Critics of the healthcare system argue that more rigorous auditing processes and stronger whistleblower protections are necessary to prevent similar schemes from happening in the future. Despite his criminal conviction, Burkhart's case is far from over. His legal team has continued to challenge various aspects of the prosecution and the sentence. In 2021, his legal representatives filed an appeal based on claims of inadequate defense during the trial. However, the appeals court ruled in favor of the original sentence, affirming the gravity of his offenses. For many of those involved in the scandal, the consequences were harsh. Burkhart's former colleagues, including his brother and the company's former chief operating officer, also faced significant legal repercussions. Several of Burkhart's associates received prison sentences for their roles in the scheme, highlighting the collaborative nature of the fraud. The scandal reverberated through the healthcare sector, prompting greater scrutiny from regulatory bodies and the media. Burkhart's commutation by President Biden, however, has sparked controversy. Critics argue that individuals who are convicted of large-scale financial crimes should serve their full sentences as a deterrent to others. The decision to grant clemency to Burkhart and others has raised questions about fairness in the criminal justice system, especially when it involves high-profile figures with significant political and business connections. Some believe that Burkhart, given his history of wealth and influence, might have received preferential treatment. Those who support clemency, on the other hand, argue that Burkhart has demonstrated remorse for his actions and successfully reintegrated into society. His supporters point to the fact that he has spent years in prison and that his release could be seen as a step toward rehabilitation. Furthermore, they emphasize that his commutation is part of a broader trend of criminal justice reform, which aims to address systemic issues such as over-incarceration and the reintegration of former offenders into society. Whatever the outcome, Burkhart's story is a cautionary tale of the dangers of corporate greed and abuse of power. It serves as a reminder of how individuals in positions of authority can exploit vulnerable populations for personal gain and underscores the importance of maintaining strong, transparent oversight in the healthcare industry. The continuing fallout from Burkhart's actions will likely affect policy changes in the sector for years to come, as lawmakers and regulators look for ways to prevent similar schemes in the future. As for Burkhart himself, his future remains uncertain. With his release scheduled for December 22, 2024, he will face the challenge of rebuilding his life outside of prison. The public's perception of his role in the scandal, combined with the stigma of being a convicted felon, will undoubtedly affect his post-release opportunities. His story is a stark reminder of how quickly a successful career can unravel when built on fraudulent practices and deceit. Ultimately, Burkhart's commutation raises important questions about accountability, punishment, and the potential for redemption. It also underscores the complexities of the American justice system, where the lines between punishment and rehabilitation are often blurred. As more individuals receive clemency, it will be interesting to see how the public's views on justice and fairness evolve in the coming years.